My name is Shirley Robertson, and I was born in Lindsay here at the Ross Memorial Hospital in December of 1934, December 15 to be exact. And I was raised in a godly Christian home, and I was the oldest of 3 children. I had a brother next to me, his name was John, and a little sister whose name was Anne. My mother said I sang alto before I was 2 years old. When I was 8, I played a pipe organ to accompany my mother's solos. I studied with the Royal Conservatory of Music, and we went to a little church called Salem Emily United Church, and it was approximately a mile or so from our farm. And it was there that I heard all the Bible stories. My grandmother used to tell us mission stories from other countries because her brother was a missionary in Korea. And so my mother used to tell us all kinds of stories about how they were ministering over there. And when I was about 11 years old, we no longer went to the Salem Emily Church. We came in here to Lindsay because there was nothing really for young people at the church. And so we started to go then to William Street Baptist, which is now Bethel Church. In the 40s, I guess it was, we enjoyed many nice things here in Lindsay. And following high school, I went to high school at Lindsay Collegiate Institute. And after high school, I went to Prairie Bible College in Alberta for 4 years. I took a Bible course, and I also took music, and I did some other courses as well. And it was there that I met my late husband, Reverend Don Collins. We were in a choir together. They called it radio choir, and we got to know each other there. And after my graduation in 1957, we married here in Lindsay, and then went out west to Saskatchewan, and we pastored a church out there in East End, Saskatchewan. And then after that, we prepared for the mission field. Both of us felt called to go to Africa, and so by 1960, we were ready to sail to Liberia. And we sailed with our 20-month-old son, Stephen. And our daughter, Suzanne, was born in Liberia 2 years later. Our first term was quite interesting. We were supposed to be learning the language, but that was quite difficult because these tribal languages are very, very hard to learn. And if you don't get your up and down in the right place, then you can make very huge mistakes and people will laugh at you. So it's a very tonal language. So our son was not very well. He had extreme knee problems, and so I brought him home in '62 when Suzanne was 4 months old, and we took him to Sick Children's Hospital. And one of the groups here in Lindsay paid for his work that had to be done on his knees, and we were very, very grateful for that. But anyhow, Don was still out there because there was no one to take his place. So he came home then 2 months or so after we did, with the children and I. And then he started to take bush flying lessons, so he became a pilot. And then we moved out west to where his family lived in Oregon, and he went to college for a degree in airframe and engineering. In 1966, we returned to Liberia, and it was very hard to say goodbye to our parents. And Don's father, when we left out there, he cried and cried, and Don said to me afterwards, he said, "Dad doesn't think I'm going to make it, does he?" So anyhow, we had 2 wonderful years of ministry with the mission aircraft. But on January the 12th, 1969, when he was making one of his usual runs, the plane went down, and he and his 2 passengers were all killed. So I was left with a 10-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl. And it was a big, big funeral. There were over 1,000 attended his funeral, and they were coming from all over. And then I talked to my parents right here in Lindsay, and by ham radio, I talked to them, and they said that they wanted to come out and see me. So in about 6 weeks or so, they came out to see me, and by that time I had failed down to about 94 pounds because all I wanted was tea to drink. And so my mom and dad came out for 3 weeks, and Mom took one look at me and she just burst into tears because I looked like a scarecrow with a dress on. I mean, it was very, very thin. It was so wonderful to have them there. Mom did sewing for us, and it was just wonderful to have them. So I stayed on for 1.5 years, and I sent our children to Christian boarding school for missionary kids in Guinea. And that was a very hard thing to do too, because I didn't know what my little daughter had been through, but she had been raped when she was 5.5 by our helper in the kitchen. He was our houseboy, and she wanted to get away from the station, just to get away from him. Of course, I didn't know this. And when Stephen was supposed to be staying to school, she said, "Mommy, I want to stay too." Well, I wasn't willing to let my 7-year-old daughter by then be that far away from me, but she begged and pleaded, and I said, okay, that'd be fine. But it was very hard to come back home alone without my children. But at our station, I was principal of the Bible school, and I taught grades 3 and 4 in our mission school. So I had a very, very busy lifestyle for sure. So in 1970, we came home for a year's furlough, and then back again in 1971. I was teaching once again. The children were in Ivory Coast at the WEC boarding school, but they were so unhappy there that we packed it in and came home to Lindsay in 1973. So this was another adjustment for the children. Coming home to, Stephen went to not to high school, but to grade 7, I guess it was, up in the school here on Kent Street. And Suzanne was out at another school in the south part of Lindsay there. And I got a job in the library at Fleming College. So I worked there for a few years, and then I became the secretary at Fairview Baptist Church, which was my home church, for 20 years. And of course, I met Bob Robertson. So I was a Collins in between, and Evans, Collins, and then Robertson. Bob and I married in 1977. I was pianist and choir director at Fairview Baptist for 27 years. Then I played at several smaller churches around this vicinity and also in Peterborough. St. Andrew's Presbyterian was my last contract. So I am now a grandmother and a great-grandmother. Music has been my life. I thank God for His grace and love to me throughout these years that have been up and down, but always His grace has been sufficient. And one thing that I forgot to mention too was the bullfight here in Lindsay. And our church down at William Street Baptist, we had a service. I think it was the day before, something like that. And I teased my son because I was very pregnant with him at the time, and I told him about the fact that he went to a bullfight before he was ever born. And we did music at that as well. So I'm very grateful that I have been in Lindsay for these years, and I love Lindsay. I love Victoria County, and it's just been a wonderful life, being brought up here and then coming back and spending these years here in Lindsay.